Good morning. This is Kellerland on the go with all you need to know in news and weather as you start your day.
The United States Senate has now crossed a major to-do item off of its list of ahead of the holiday break, passing the annual Defense Authorization Bill and sending it to the president's desk.
This year's bill boosts overall military spending to $895 billion and includes a 14.5% pay increase for junior enlisted service members and a 4.5% increase for others.
The bill also authorizes $282 million in construction projects at the Ellsworth Air Force Base and $2.6 billion in additional B-21 purchases.
South Dakota Senator Mike Brown says that money will really help the process of getting the stealth bomber to the base near Rapid City.
There's a number of things going on out there right now. They're going to be reconstructing the runway at Ellsworth. A number of the B-1B bombers that are there will be reassigned to some other bases for the next couple of months as that runway is being reconstructed and we make it ready for the B-21's arrival.
The National Defense Authorization Act passed 85-12 in the Senate Wednesday, despite backlash regarding a provision in the bill that strips coverage of gender-affirming care for children of military members.
Both rounds and Senator John Thune voted in favor of the bill, as well as Representative Dusty Johnson when it was in the House.
In the wake of Tuesday's arrest of another state employee, Attorney General Marty Jackley plans to introduce legislation to strengthen laws governing state employees and state finances.
He plans to introduce legislation that would require state employees to notify the Attorney General's office of suspected felonies.
Jackley also talked about giving more teeth to the state's auditing process.
I would tell you that the legislation that I have drafted has gone to LRC for final editing, and then it'll go to the chairs of the respective, typically it's judiciary, some of this might be in state affairs, and then it'll be made public, hopefully well in advance of session.
Jackley says his legislation would expand whistleblower protections and increase transparency into state business.
This week, a hearing is underway to determine whether Damian Laureliz will be tried as an adult for a deadly April crash. He was 17 at the time.
On Wednesday morning, the prosecution called 8 witnesses to the stand, including staff at the Minnehaha County Juvenile Detention Center. One staff member said he recalls most of Laureliz's behavior as rude while he was there. Another
testified to an incident in July at the JDC when Laureliz spit on 2 staff members while yelling derogatory words at them. We expect to learn more in court tomorrow morning. Now let's get a check on this morning's forecast with meteorologist Scott Lunt. Scott?
All right, a lot of changes going on as we do go through the morning hours. We'll have strong northwest winds behind a front. That will help bring in much colder air. Ahead of that, we could see some areas with some melting occur, and then as that front moves through, things will refreeze. You'll possibly see black ice, unfortunately. So pay attention to the changing weather and the changing road conditions throughout the morning. Brian will have more details on your forecast coming up.
Thank you, Scott. We've told you how geese in Sioux Falls, particularly near the airport, present a potentially dangerous situation for airplanes.
Sioux Falls Animal Control started the process of trying to get the geese to hightail it out of there with a round of hazing using air cannons and pyrotechnics.
And that's usually enough to scare some of these geese off this open water that we have here, to try to get them to not want to hang out here and want to hang out somewhere else in town, not as close to the airport over there, so we try to prevent any potential Goose airplane strikes.
They'll use this cannon and another that will fire every hour during the day for the next 3 months.
The Brockhouse Work Group has discussed the next steps for what to do with the taxidermy animals at the now closed Delbridge Museum.
The committee received proposals from 6 institutions and discussed which ones would be the best fit for the specimens during a meeting yesterday.
Cast as wide as net as we could possibly do across the country, asking for interested institutions to submit their interest to us and their qualifications. The qualification being that they're a 501c3 entity.
The committee made a motion to pursue the Notre Dame Museum of Biodiversity to receive 117 of the roughly 150 items. The group will also consider 3 other institutions for the rest of the specimens.
Riders that have been making their way from Lower Brule to Mankato, Minnesota on horseback are now more than halfway there.
One woman in Pipestone, Minnesota says she has hosted the group as they pass through town since the ride started in 2005.
I would do this 100 times over and over. You know, I love Wilfred so much. He's just a special person. Yeah, and he's got a good ride. He's got good riders.
The riders left on December 10th and will travel a total of 330 miles. To see how the group prepared for the long journey, you can find that story here on KELOLAND.com.
That's a look at some of our top stories.
Now let's get one last look at your weather with meteorologist Brian Karstens. Brian?
All right, an update on weather. So here we are with the advisories as of early this morning. Official headlines are in effect for the far northeast, including Sisseton. We're picking up more snow here today, over 2 inches, and then you combine that with the strong winds and that stretch of Interstate 29 around the Sisseton Hills. Not going to be very fun at times today for sure. Also, by the way, make sure you're checking clothesline. We've had several updates on that ongoing throughout the morning, and that will likely continue to change here as we go through the day today. Officially in Sioux Falls, I think temperatures will probably crest through the 9 o'clock hour. We'll be in the low to mid 30s, and then the winds will expand, and then we'll be dropping each and every hour going into the evening. And coupled with that, some pockets of snow and blowing snow. It's not necessarily heavy, but you get a lot of wind behind it, and that's the force there that, again, can be a factor. And obviously, too, we'll need to watch and see how this older 2-day-old, it's not really that old, but the snow from Tuesday, if that gets recycled into some of this, you know, that can complicate the visibility. It's kind of a fine line between areas of blowing snow and a ground blizzard, you know, and a lot of times in a situation like this, we just kind of monitor that. So just be on the lookout for any updates or just the behavior of that snow. For the most part, though, again, at least running into this system, we don't have a lot of snow pre-existing on the ground. Again, there's the illustration of your wind. Sioux Falls will be 20 to 45 this afternoon into the early evening. Overnight, the wind will diminish quite a bit. I do need to mention, too, the top winds today will be 50 to 60 between Pierre and Rapid, and there is a high wind warning in effect. All of those wind headlines are done tomorrow. We won't deal with that. It'll be cold, though, as temperatures are struggling through the teens. And then by Saturday, Sunday, we'll start to get a return flow and eventually start moderating the weather a little bit. Now, here's a closer look at the low. Every time we talk about Alberta Clippers, we always mention your snow track is to the left of the low pressure system. And so you see the low there between Huron and Aberdeen. And so to the left, that means up toward Fargo, and behind me toward Minneapolis and St. Cloud. That's where the winter storm warnings are. There goes the low, the path through the mid-morning into southwest Minnesota. All the wind on the backside of that. And there's kind of an interesting zone where you get some snow combined with the strongest wind. You know, Huron in particular, a 47-mile-an-hour wind gust at noon combined with some new snow. And Huron, you know, Beadle County ended up with about 3 inches of snow a couple days ago. So I'm a little more concerned about that. I think that there will be some pockets in here where it's not going to be very pretty this afternoon northwest of Sioux Falls. So continue to watch for those updates. And then we end the afternoon here with eventually decreasing wind by tonight. Well, let's wrap things up here after a colder start to the weekend. Temperatures next week, calmer weather and also a little warmer. So we're expecting some 40s. We really think travel weather before Christmas is looking okay at this point. There are no major systems, and obviously with temperatures above freezing, that's going to make a big difference. Aberdeen will get through today's hit of snow and cold, and then temperatures 15 tomorrow after a morning low of 3 below zero. Pierre in central South Dakota, 4 tomorrow morning, 22 tomorrow. And then it's off to 40s next week. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of 40-degree weather. Might even be 50-degree weather in Rapid City starting early next week. More details online at KELOLAND.com.